I caught my wife cheating, not by accident, but by following her patterns. She thought I'd never notice the missing nights, the hidden charges. She was wrong. I spent weeks planning dinner, the guest list, me, her, and the man she thought I didn't know about.
My name is Carl. I'm 48. For the last 26 years, I've lived what some might call a quiet life. HVAC contractor in Central Texas, owner of a small, loyal crew, a modest house outside of Waco, a wife named Teresa. 2 stepkids I raised like my own. I wasn't flashy, but I was dependable, and I thought that meant something. I met Teresa when I was 28. She was a front desk admin at a real estate office, single mom of 2, trying to pull herself up after a messy divorce. I liked her fire, sharp tongue, soft eyes, fast with sarcasm, but even faster to forgive. We married after 10 months. I built an extra bedroom onto the house myself. Paid off her car. Never asked for much. Years passed. The kids grew up, moved out. I worked. A lot. Summers in Texas meant money if you knew your way around a busted condenser. Teresa started working fewer hours. More brunches with the girls. More weekends visiting her cousin in Austin. At first I didn't question it. That was my mistake. 6 months ago, I got home from a long job in Fort Worth. The house smelled like lilac spray and too much bleach. Her car wasn't in the driveway. I thought she was out grocery shopping, until I noticed her overnight bag missing. She didn't leave a note. But the dog was fed, the bed made. Like she lived here, sure, just not with me. I texted, "All good." She replied an hour later. "Just needed some space. At Laura's for a bit." Don't worry. I didn't worry. Not yet. Instead, I opened a beer, sat on the porch, and stared at the sky until it went dark. 2 weeks later, she was back. No explanations. No apologies. She acted like nothing had happened. Something had shifted in me. Quietly, I started paying attention. My gut said, "Carl, you've been asleep." I checked our shared bank account. Small withdrawals every few days. $80 here, $100 there. Gas station charges near Houston. She hadn't mentioned going to Houston. I checked the phone log. Outgoing calls to a number not in her contacts. Regular, spaced, late at night. So I called it. Some guy answered. Yeah. I hung up. That night, I slept in the guest room. She didn't ask why. Over the next few weeks, I built my case. Not in court, in my mind. I printed bank statements. Copied her call logs. Snapped a photo of a receipt for a dinner for 2, steakhouse in Galveston, $212. She didn't even like steak. I didn't confront her. I watched. Waited. She still kissed me goodbye when I went to work. Still asked if I needed laundry done. But something in her eyes had changed. She looked at me like I was background noise. 3 weeks ago, I came home early from a job. My crew handled the last install without me. I parked 2 blocks away and walked in from behind the house. Through the window, I saw her, in our kitchen, pouring wine for a man in a tailored blazer. He kissed her like he belonged there. I stood there, behind the fence, watching through a gap in the blinds. My hands didn't shake. My heart didn't pound. It was the calmest I'd felt in years. I left. Quietly. That night, I opened a separate bank account. I didn't leave her. Not yet. I went to work. Made small talk. Played the part. But inside, I was rewriting the script of my life. This wasn't about heartbreak anymore. It was about design. I wasn't going to yell. I wasn't going to beg. I was going to end this on my terms. I didn't pack a bag. I didn't move out. I didn't even change the locks. I needed her to believe I hadn't changed. That's how you keep people honest, by making them think they still have the upper hand. For the next week, I watched Teresa like I used to watch thermostats on busted rooftop units. I noticed patterns. She left the house every Tuesday and Thursday evening claiming book club. She came home with lipstick slightly smeared, hair that didn't match the humidity. One night, I asked, real casual, "What book y'all reading?" She blinked, then said, "Oh, some mystery thing." Laura picked it. That was all I needed. I installed a second Wi-Fi router in the garage. Wired it to monitor the smart lock, cameras, even her Bluetooth pairing. Not to spy, just to know. She'd already left the marriage. I just wanted to know when she made it official. And on Friday night, she did. She didn't know I saw her in that motel parking lot off Loop 340. Same guy, same blazer. They laughed like teenagers as they disappeared into room 104. I sat across the street at a Denny's, sipping bad coffee, and imagined how long it had been going on. By the time my eggs got cold, I had a plan. I wasn't going to confront her. That would have given her too much power. I wasn't going to make a scene, post photos, call the guy's wife, if he even had one. That wasn't justice. That was noise. I wanted her to feel what I had felt. Dismissed. Used. Invisible. So I started smiling more. That messed with her. I'd wake up early, whistling. Bring her flowers, just because. I booked a dinner reservation at the place she'd always wanted to go but claimed we couldn't afford. She got suspicious. Asked if something was going on. I said, "Can a husband treat his wife?" She smiled back, but her eyes were squinting, like she couldn't figure out which shoe was about to drop. Perfect. The truth is, I'd sold a bit of stock I'd bought back in '09 when everyone was panicking. HVAC wasn't sexy, but it made money. Quiet, dependable money. I'd been modest, cautious until now. I converted some of it to cash and stashed it in a safety deposit box under a new LLC. That LLC? It now owned our house. She didn't notice. Because Teresa wasn't watching me anymore. She was watching him. I made copies of the deed transfer. Filed the paperwork on a Friday. By Monday, she was asking why our mortgage login page had changed. "Oh, I refinanced," I said. "Better rates." She nodded, slowly. She didn't ask if her name was still on it. She assumed. Because I played dumb so well. I started leaving hints. I bought new tools I didn't need. Talked about maybe expanding the business. She scoffed once, said, "Why now?" That's when I knew I had her exactly where I wanted. She thought I was trying to impress her again. Like a dog begging for scraps. What I was doing was drawing a map. Leading her exactly where I wanted her to walk. Next step? Her birthday. I planned something extravagant. Weekend trip to Galveston. Rented a beachfront condo. Booked massages, bought champagne, even framed an old photo of us from our first year together. She was confused but flattered. That Saturday, I watched her pack lingerie she hadn't worn for me in 3 years. The condo had 2 bedrooms. I stayed in the guest room. I told her I was exhausted, needed to rest. "You go ahead, enjoy the beach." She did, and she made phone calls when she thought I was asleep. That night, while she was in the shower, I opened her phone.
Sorry to interrupt your viewing experience, but we really need your support, namely a subscription to the channel, which can make it possible to hire a professional voice actor and make the best content for you.
I didn't have to guess the passcode. It was my birthday. That stung more than I expected. There were messages. Not many. She was careful, but not careful enough. I took photos of what I needed. Timestamps. Names. Screenshots of her cousin in Austin, smiling shirtless in their shared Airbnb. Then I put the phone back where I found it. I poured her a glass of wine, and we toasted to new beginnings. She smiled, raised her glass, and told me she was glad we were reconnecting. I smiled too, but I was already gone. When we got back from Galveston, something shifted in Teresa. She started trying harder, leaving me little notes in my lunchbox, touching my shoulder in the kitchen, calling me babe again. It was like she wanted to reset the clock, like a guilty child overcompensating after getting away with something. I let her. I played along. Because while she made casseroles and planned date nights, I was finalizing the paperwork that would make her financial future disappear like steam off a hot wrench. The LLC that now owned our house? It had quietly sold the property to a second LLC, one incorporated in Delaware, where owners didn't have to be publicly listed. That one was technically owned by a trust set up for my niece's college fund. A legal tangle thick enough to keep any casual inquiry spinning in circles. To Teresa, everything looked normal. Lights turned on. Mortgage emails still came through. She kept paying from our shared account, not realizing she was sending money to a shell. I had her paying rent to a property she no longer owned. Every cent went into a separate account under my name. But the house was just the beginning. Teresa had a 401k from her marketing job. She never checked it, trusted me with all that. I couldn't touch it directly, of course, but I could suggest a few high-growth funds in risky sectors. She nodded, distracted, signed the forms I left on the table. That portfolio dropped 18% in 3 weeks. I made sure to show sympathy when she got the alert. "Market's volatile," I said. "It'll bounce back." She nodded again, because she still didn't know I knew. But I wasn't done. The guy, her side project, lover, whatever, ran a steakhouse on the east side called Hartwell's. Trendy spot. Expensive. Reservations booked 2 weeks out. I started going there. Alone. Sat at the bar. Ordered top shelf. Tipped well. smiled at the bartenders, asked questions, told them I was considering investing. They lit up. Turns out he'd been trying to expand. Wanted a franchise. Needed capital. So I made an offer. Quiet. Through a third party, of course. We set up a meeting. He didn't know my name. Just knew I had cash and interest. I showed up in a tailored shirt, clean-shaven, with a burner phone and a different last name. He talked too much. Give away too much. Said the magic words. We're tight on margins, but if we land this loan. I didn't need to destroy him. I just needed to wait. He sent over the full business plan the next day. I forwarded it to a friend who did commercial real estate audits. Turns out he'd been cutting corners. Unpaid supplier invoices. Tax filings that didn't match revenue reports. I had everything I needed. I handed it to the right people. Within 3 weeks, Hartwell's got flagged for inspection. Health Department. IRS audit. Insurance review. They didn't shut him down, but they sure made noise. Teresa came home that night with a quiet look on her face. I think Rick's in trouble, she said, stirring sauce she never actually served. I asked, who's Rick? She blinked, just once. Oh, he's just this guy from my gym. I nodded. We didn't talk the rest of dinner. Later that week, she sat across from me with folded hands, like a schoolteacher about to give a lesson. I've been thinking, she said. About us. I let her talk. About how she wanted to take a break. A reset, she called it. Said she was going to visit her sister in Flagstaff for a while. Said she needed clarity. I told her I understood. Even helped her pack. She hugged me at the airport like she was doing me a favor. But her ticket didn't go to Flagstaff. I watched her flight data from home. She flew to Las Vegas. 2 one-way tickets. Hers and Rick's. They thought they'd won. That I was the sucker who didn't see the signs. What they didn't know. The money Rick thought he'd gotten from investors was under review. The house she thought she still owned had already been flipped, sold quietly to a new buyer, whose name she didn't recognize, because I made sure she never would. Her new life was built on fog. And when she'd finally realize it, when the money stopped, when the door didn't open, when the account said insufficient funds, it would already be too late. Because I wasn't chasing revenge with fire and fury. I was doing it the only way I knew how. Like a mechanic with a wrench and a problem. One bolt at a time. I didn't tell Michelle I knew. Not yet. I'd seen enough in that hotel room to burn the image into my skull, but I needed more than fire. I needed clarity. That night I sat at the kitchen table with a blank yellow pad and a ballpoint pen. No revenge plan. No outbursts. Just silence. I wrote down the dates of her past girls' trips. The names of the friends she claimed she'd visited. I started calling them. 2 answered. Neither had seen her in over a year. My hands shook. Not with rage, not yet, but with a slow, gathering disgust. I made a list of everything we'd built in 12 years. Mortgage. Car lease. Shared savings. Joint business. Every account. Every asset. She'd grown comfortable thinking I'd never notice. Because I'd trusted her. Because I believed in loyalty like it was a religion. The next morning, I left for work like usual. Kissed her cheek. You okay? She asked. Just tired, I said. The quiet fire inside me was growing. 2 weeks later, I invited her and her friend to dinner. I told Michelle I had a surprise business opportunity. Told her to bring this man along. He deserved to meet the man whose money she was spending. She looked shocked. Nervous. Curious. At the restaurant, I was polite. Calm. Ordered wine. Then, I stood up and placed a thick envelope on the table. Michelle, this is the finalized dissolution papers for the business. Everything has been restructured. You're officially removed as co-owner. She paled. What are you talking about? I turned to her guest. And you, sir, are now formally named in a fraud report tied to misused business funds. You'll want a lawyer up. I stood to leave. One more thing, I said, leaning close. You wanted someone exciting. Someone who'd take you away from the dull man building your future. Congratulations. He's all yours now. I walked out without looking back. It took months to clean up the wreckage. The business is still mine. The accountant helped me recover most losses. The lawyer ensured she got nothing more than what was legally unavoidable. No dramatic courtroom scenes. No tabloid-worthy scandal. Just cold, precise detachment. Michelle sent messages. Called. Left voicemails that started angry, turned pleading, and finally went silent. Some people think revenge is fire and fury. But the truth? Sometimes the most powerful revenge is silence. Control. Reclamation. Because in the end, she didn't just lose me, she lost the man who built the life she thought she deserved and proved she never earned.
What do you think of the story? Write in the comments.